Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to episode 7 of Mr. Millennials Revenge. I'm your host, Nick DeMaria. Thanks for tuning in. Hey guys, so episode 7, really excited to present this episode to you. Today I sat down with the owner of Conspiracy Bar in Middletown, Mr. Mark Sabo. We talk about the history of cocktail making, kind of where cocktails came from and how they evolved, from the late 1800s all the way to today, and basically the craft cocktail genre, if you will. Kind of a step to sideways as opposed to what I've been doing on the show. First off, we left New Haven. The underground does exist outside of the New Haven city limits, so I'm really excited that we could present a bar that I like to think is under the umbrella of the underground, even though they're up in Middletown. We will never hold that against them, of course. But Conspiracy Bar is owned and operated by Mark and his wife Jen, two of the sweetest people I've ever met, and absolute cocktail gurus. They know what goes with everything, you know. It reminded me of a scene in the movie City Slickers where, if you recall, the party that goes out to herd the cattle involves like basically a spoof on Ben and Jerry of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and these two guys are brothers, and one of them prides himself on being able to match ice cream to the perfect meal, you know, and sure enough, Mark is like that. I feel like Mark could, you know. You could say a meal to him and he will throw out the perfect drink. So it was a great conversation. I was really glad to talk to him. We talked about what Conspiracy is doing to stay afloat in this new third great quintet wave of COVID, unfortunately, and what you could do to keep supporting not only them but other local businesses, because businesses have had to adapt so much this year to stay afloat, and I feel like Conspiracy is doing a great job of providing, like some entertainment along with their takeout order. And so I'm really excited you guys can hear that. I'm really looking forward to sharing that interview with you guys. But of course, let's do the housekeeping section of the podcast. Mr. Millennials Revenge is presented by the New Haven Jazz Underground, which is a grassroots community-based organization dedicated to presenting concerts, clinics, and jam sessions, all in the name of jazz. And you can always be a patron. You can be a full-time supporter for as low as $2 if you go to patreon.com/NHVJU. You sign up for as low as $2, and you will directly fund the Underground's efforts, which includes, might I add, the Mind the Hang series. The Mind the Hang series is a concert series presented by the NHJU, where we every month we've been presenting different jazz groups live at the Ellie Center of Contemporary Art and streaming them. So some quality music for no cost to you, and how do we pay for that? We pay for that by individual contributions. So thank you to everyone who is a patron on our patreon.com format, and if you want to help out, it does go for your small contribution goes so far. It really does. I know I harp on this every episode, but we are able to keep this series going because of our patrons. So please consider becoming a patron. Again, that's patreon.com/NHVJU. And let's make sure I don't forget all the other ways you can keep track of the New Haven Jazz Underground. Of course, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/NHVJU. And that's where we put all of the info for our events up. So you could check out who's playing the Mind the Hang series coming up in December. Like I said, we're going to start our sock drive soon. So keep an eye out for that in case you want to make donations so that we can buy some brand new socks for some needy people as it gets colder. Always the most needed item and most forgotten is a pair of socks. So please consider donating to the Underground for this holiday season. So last episode I was talking about Benny Maupin, right? And I wonder how many of you guys were inspired to go check him out. I hope a lot of you were. My Benny Maupin listening kind of went on through this week, and I was still checking him out. And man, I stick by it. He is a phenomenal player. It is so awesome that he's still with us, and his catalog is very vast and very accessible. So a couple of things I forgot to mention. I think I forgot to mention that he was in the Horse Silver band. I probably said something, but Serenade to a Soul Sister, another great record, man. Or oh shit, what's that one with Randy Brecker? It's You Gotta Give Love or something like that. Oh, it's gonna drive me crazy. I'm looking it up as I'm trying to kill time here, so I don't have to redo anything. But very cool. You Gotta Take a Little Love. Do you know that record? Randy Brecker on trumpet, Benny Maupin on saxophone. Incredible late 60s classic Blue Note, classic Horse Silver sound. If you have not given Benny Maupin any time, please give him some time for the holiday season, right? So he, before the ghost of Christmas future comes and haunts you because you never listened to Benny Maupin. I hope you guys were able to check him out. And Benny, if you're out there, man, like I just have to say again, I'm so grateful for your contribution to the music. I'm always reflecting on the musicians the legends that I got to see, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't constantly send out the vibe that I appreciated. Not only my time to watch them perform, but just their overall contribution to the music. So seriously, check out Benny Maupin. If you've got any questions about where to start, go listen to the previous episode or hit me up on social media. I'd be happy to make a playlist for you. Benny Maupin, tenor saxophonist, bass clarinetist, flautist, just an incredible human being. And I'm going to keep his music in regular rotation this week for sure. And reflecting on Benny Maupin got me thinking about something I think is totally related in a way. Bear with me here. But do you guys know Catherine O'Hara, right? Actress, comedian. She probably most famous prior to the modern era, like this year, a couple years previous, the mom from Home Alone, right? And she's currently on the show Schitt's Creek. Well, it just ended, but I'm not a Schitt's Creek fan. I've just caught a lot of episodes because my wife loves the show. And it seems to be the brainchild of Eugene Levy and his son, David. I believe that's his name. I hope I didn't get it wrong. But it's funny because I've been seeing this meme popping up all over the place. People are finally fucking waking up to the fact that Moira from Schitt's Creek is the mom from Home Alone / the voice of Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas. And it just got me thinking, like, man, this shit just happens in everything, right? There is always a person who has this incredible career, but because they don't get the top marquee status, they get forgotten. And it's kind of funny, I think. I'm thinking of the parallels with like jazz musicians. Like, people always say like Kenny Dorham is so overlooked. Not really. If you think about it now, he's been pretty looked at. You want to talk about an appreciated trumpet player. Like, let's talk about Johnny Coles. Like people know about Kenny Dorham at this point. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like, I'm sure there's a ton of actors out there who don't get their props throughout their career until maybe late career, or hopefully not until they're passing, because that would just be so sad for them. But it's kind of strange in the sense that with actors, there's a visual component to it. So musicians can be overlooked because they maybe they're on only so many records, but with an actor, you have people who, might be looking at this actor from like different periods of the work and not making the connection that's the same person, or like recognizing the talent there, or maybe people are just fucking stupid. Like, it's perfectly possible that people are just not paying attention, which actually wouldn't be surprising because, yeah, right? Do I have to get into it? But yeah, I was thinking about, recognizing Benny Maupin and thinking about all these underrated jazz musicians that have these incredible careers, but they just, they never have the star status that so many others have. And I feel like Catherine O'Hara is one of those actors, man. She probably didn't, she probably auditioned for SNL like 60 times and never got it, right? They probably always pick someone instead of her. And sure enough, she has had this incredible career, and she's had these roles that have established her as, a prime force. And it's just, I like to think about things like that because so often we are kind of focused on what a career looks like. We focus too much on what a career in this music is supposed to look like, and you realize that there are many different avenues of this career, and keeping the music in your own life and not being the headline of the Vanguard, or something like that. And it really puts things in perspective. I think musicians, do yourself a favor and check out the careers of the people we idolize, because I think it would be really surprising to see how many of them navigated the world of jazz before they got the true recognition. I actually came across an interview with Joe Henderson. It looked like it was in the late 90s, probably right before his death. And it was talking about how he was finally getting like accolades and attention and stuff. And it's like, what? Joe Henderson? Everyone always knew who Joe Henderson was. I certainly never thought that somebody was overlooking him, but sure enough, he talks about this newfound recognition. It's when his album Porgy and Bess came out, and it just keeps me thinking about how you can work so hard and have these prestigious careers, and so few people know about you, and first off, it reminds you that it's not about fame, right? Like if you, as Eddie Henderson tells me all the time, if you're in this for the money and the fame, you're on a fast track to a mental episode. It's always for the music first, but it is just fascinating that varieties on the career are not celebrated. I feel like they're not. Maybe someone can debate me on that, but it's like either you're a full-time performer and that's what you do, or you're nobody. And it's really not that at all. There's so much more to it, so many other things that you do. And I always say Kenny Dorham was a mailman, right? And no offense to Kenny Dorham, like he deserves all the praise. I just don't think he's overlooked anymore. I find that there are many, many people who appreciate Kenny Dorham, as they should. He's one of my favorite trumpet players, and I studied him extensively. So as other trumpet players have. So it's not like he's totally ignored these days. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm just rambling at this point. But I just, it's just these parallels between careers and what it means to be successful. I think that's what I'm ultimately trying to get to. We need to have a discussion on what does it mean to be successful in this music. Probably an idea for a future episode. I got the gears are certainly turning now. So, we'll have to get somebody on the show and talk about the levels of success in jazz. So anyway, I want to get to the interview part of the show. Like I said at the top of the episode, I interviewed my friend and colleague, Mark Sabo, owner and operator of Conspiracy Bar in Middletown. One of the hippest places I play. Before the pandemic, I was playing there every month. It was awesome. It was certainly one of the nights I look forward to the most. During the summer, I got to play there a few times out in their makeshift patio. Mark and Jen designed the signature cocktail for my wedding. Even though it was a backyard wedding, it was still. We still had a lot of what we planned for originally, and that included a drink made by Jen and Mark, and they did not fail to deliver. It was I remember telling people to slow down. They were doing too liberal of a pour, but it was all because it tasted excellent. These people know what they're doing, folks. What can I say? But Mark is a great guy. Awesome person to talk to, great businessman, and fan of jazz, obviously. So let's get to my interview with Mark. Okay, and joining me now virtually via Zoom in the virtual podcast office is Mark Sabo, owner and operator of Conspiracy Bar in Middletown. Welcome, Mark.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. I'm so glad I could have someone who's not a musician. This is the second episode in a row where it's not one of my musician friends who are joining me. So maybe I'm adding some variety to the podcast already. This is good. This is great. I'm
Yeah,
keeping I'm
good.
keep I'm keeping the mission going, and I'm not reusing the same material because the some of the first guests have all been drummers, and I realized that I was already pinning myself in a corner with the same kind of guest. So
Right.
last episode I had a reporter. Now I have a bar owner. This will be great for a different perspective because we work together, but on different sides of the bar counter.
That's right.
So
Yep.
thanks for coming on, and yeah, so to give everybody some background, if they're not aware of the bar, and hopefully because of this episode, people will turn on thousands and thousands of new customers for you guys. But you are
There you
located
go.
on Main Street, Middletown, and the bar is what, 2-ish years old?
Yeah, three now, a little over
Three.
three.
Wow, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, so tell us about it. Give me like the bio of Conspiracy.
Yeah. So we are on the second floor of an old movie theater. It was the Capitol Movie Theater, Main Street, Middletown. We're not sure exactly what our space was used for. We think it was storage, which is crazy because if you've been or if you come, it's a incredibly beautiful space, and just shows you like the kind of care that people put into buildings back in the 19 teens,
Mm-hmm.
which is when it was built. But we are a classic cocktail bar, so it's kind of called a craft cocktail bar nowadays too. Is sort of our kind of brand of things. But the drinks are the focus. We have a full kitchen and an amazing chef who does amazing food. Um, but we are definitely a cocktail bar first. So we
Mm-hmm.
kind of take our cue from the craft cocktail tradition, which dates way back to the 1800s. Um, Took a break during Prohibition and then was lost for a long time and kind of revitalized in this country in like the late 1990s. So we're kind of
Oh, wow.
bringing that sort of tradition forward.
Yeah, so it seems like and I'm glad to hear you say that because it seems like snazzy cocktails were definitely like a product of the 1890s, also known as the gay 90s, if you will. Then you start seeing like up and through what basically the Great Depression is like the invention of a lot of drinks, right? Were a lot of them invented in like a certain span of time because it kind of seems like that. And then when the depression hit, people were just and also during depression you have prohibition, so
Yep.
people are not picky at all. We're talking about bathtub gin and
Yep.
homemade beer and stuff like that. So were a lot of these cocktails, were they invented like in a 30-year span of time, sort of, or
Yeah.
not so much?
No, definitely. So the word cocktail dates back to like 1800s. So there's
Okay.
some thoughts that their cocktails were being made in like the very early 1800s, like the aughts of the 1800s.
Oh, wow.
But it really got popular from like the 1830s to 1860s, and that's when you had these bartenders that were like celebrities. Like they would tour the country. People wrote about them in magazines. Jerry Thomas is a super famous one that really kind of birthed the modern cocktail movement. But
Oh, wow.
so yeah, really, so it was popular, and a lot of these drinks that we drink today, like an old fashioned, a Sazerac, a Manhattan, they were pretty much invented during that time period. And it went strong right up until Prohibition, and then Prohibition
Yeah.
put the brakes on it. Um, but during Prohibition, you still had cocktails being invented. But the crazy thing about Prohibition is, as you said, it was bathtub gin and it was substandard alcohol. So a lot of those drinks are bad drinks. So, they are like a common one that has persisted to this day is a brandy Alexander. And that has brandy and creme de coco and cream. So you put in like a ton of cream in order to cover up the bad taste of the alcohol.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
so a lot of those from that era were just these, really like Frankenstein
Hmm.
type cocktails, just to choke it down, basically.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that that we're talking about this because like as just a consumer and fan of cocktails, all of my references are essentially based on like movies in TV and stuff. So like I'm thinking about, have you ever watched Boardwalk Empire on HBO? It's
Yep.
set during the Depression. So like you get an idea for the entertainment aspect of cocktail bars and that sort of thing. And then I think of Mad Men, but Mad Men is like, it's almost like cocktails were an excuse just to drink because like it's funny. You watch that show and it's like whenever they were drinking a straight whiskey or straight vodka, that was nefarious. But like as long as they put in fruit and maybe a splash of seltzer, it was like not
Yep.
so it was not so bad and addicting
Yeah.
or something. And then Sam Malone and Mo Sizlak, from The Simpsons,
Right.
like those are my celebrity bartenders, and they were just slinging beer. So like it didn't even occur to me that there were these eras of drink making, but it's really cool to hear about that stuff. And if I remember correctly, isn't the Sazerac like America's first cocktail? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
Do you know
uh,
about it? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I don't know if this is with any field, but in cocktails, you never know what is true, which stories are true, and which aren't. Um, but yes, a lot of people do believe that the Sazerac was probably the first cocktail, and um, drinking culture in the 1800s was way different than it is right now. People would drink at every meal. They would drink when they would get up, and a lot of it was because you couldn't trust the water supply.
Right,
There
right.
wasn't clean water back then. So what was safe was alcohol, either beer, wine, or distilled.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
so, so a lot of times it was marketed as health cures, and then that's where bitters come in. So we use bitters in cocktails as like a chef uses salt and pepper. So bitters add like a little bit of flavoring. They'll perk up the cocktail. Um, but those started out as kind of patent medicine and as snake oil.
Wow.
So
Okay.
there was this one guy in New Orleans who made Peychaud's bitters. And so he basically invented the Sazerac as a way to showcase his bitters. And those bitters are like kind of cherry, anisey flavors. So the Sazerac is very, very simple. It is just spirit, a little bit of absinthe to rinse the glass, a little bit of sugar, and some bitters, the Peychaud's bitters. So, um, and it's funny, during the 1990s, yeah, how everything became a martini. There was the appletini
Yeah.
and the
Oh, okay. Yeah,
lychee
yeah, yeah. I
teeny.
remember the vodka ads, like on the
Yep,
back of right at
yep,
the end, right at the end of alcohol and tobacco ads in magazines and stuff.
yep,
The end of the Joe Camel era. I remember like the
yep,
absolute apple, absolute like fax machine, and it was
yep.
like a martini with a business tie on it or something like that.
Yeah, and to us that's funny because the only martini is a martini. It's gin and
Sure.
vermouth.
Okay.
But a cocktail, we call everything a cocktail, and so do I. So do craft bartenders. But an actual cocktail is spirit, sugar, bitters, water. So a cocktail or a mixed drink that has, say, lemon juice in it or a sour component actually isn't a cocktail. A cocktail
Ah.
is just those components. So like an old fashioned is a cocktail, a Manhattan is a cocktail, a Sazerac is a cocktail. But so that's just something, if the audience out there is interested and you're trying to learn, like, what are the categories, that's what a specific cocktail is, and that's what people meant when they were referring to a cocktail in the 1800s.
Yeah. Oh, that's so that's so cool to hear. That's so fascinating. See, I love the stories behind it, and I love that there's mystique behind the inventor of the Sazerac, because this is a jazz show, so I gotta bring it back to jazz, right? So there are urban legends about all of our most established musicians, and especially when you go back to the earliest days of jazz. There's these urban legends that are, you don't quite know what's based in fact or fiction. And we have a character named Buddy Bolden, who was a cornet player. He was a trumpet player, and he, according to Louis Armstrong and some others of the time, he was the one who invented jazz. Like he played in marching bands and classical music settings, and he was like the first one to start playing like off the beat, which led to jazz and all this stuff. And nobody can confirm or deny this, because Buddy Bolden never recorded, and he died young. He unfortunately had mental illness, so he spent the last few years of his life in a mental institution.
Mm-hmm.
So like all the history has been lost. So it only mystifies these people more. And that I love that the cocktail world has the same parallel universe going on. And it's funny too, because Buddy Bolden was active around like the turn of the 20th century. So it's almost like completely at the same time as the rise of cocktails and that sort of
Yep.
thing. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I like the mystique and the because that's especially with America being such a young country, it's like that's our mythology, that's our folklore, is this kind of stuff, this Johnny Appleseed kind of thing.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's so cool. And so like I for those of you who don't know, my wife and I we're huge fans. Not only am I a customer, I'm a client. My wife and I, Jill, we love coming to Conspiracy because we come to Conspiracy because we get in a mood for something creative. We get in the mood, like she doesn't want to just have a glass of wine. I don't want to have a beer. We want to have like there's effort behind the drink. It's like,
Yep.
what are you in the mood for? I'm in the mood for something that has components. And
Yep.
I feel like that there's a huge market for that. People appreciate what goes into a well-established cocktail. I think people are kind of like, it's strange. It's like they want that option. Sometimes you just want a Miller High Life. Other times you want something that's got flame involved, or
Yep.
or some kind of in-house syrup or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that you guys offer that that experience. But my question is like, how did you get into cocktail making? Like, was it like, oh, you made your first Manhattan, you were like, oh, and then you went from there? Or is it something, did your grandfather teach you? Where did this come from?
Yeah. It's really funny because it was a really circuitous path, but there were a couple elements, and you actually mentioned them. We're big Mad Men fans,
Oh,
and
nice.
they would talk about old fashions and bitters, and we were like, what is that? Like I didn't even know what that was. And there's a great show, which I'm sure Treme.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and there's this hilarious scene in it. So the Sazerac is the official cocktail of New Orleans.
Right.
So there's this funny scene where one of the chefs sees a critic who just kind of shit on
Oh,
New Orleans food, and she
yes.
goes over to the
Yes.
bar. She has the
Jeanette, you're talking about.
bartender make her a Sazerac, and then she throws it in his face.
That's right.
And it's
Yes,
hilarious
yes,
because it's
yes.
like dripping all over him, and he's like, "Is that a Sazerac?" And so, of course, we had to find out what a Sazerac was. Never heard about it.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
right around that time, we just went on vacation to Chicago, and so Chicago is a huge cocktail and huge drinking town,
Sure.
and we just like popped around to every bar we could find and just sat in front of bartenders and just picked their brain. And really it came from that, and it snowballed for us. My wife, she's been in the service industry for years, so she always kind of wanted to open up her own bar, but never really thought about craft cocktails. So that kind of merged with all these other influences, just set us down on a path. And there's a certain personality in our industry that once you go down the rabbit hole, you are hooked, and it becomes like a culture in of itself. We have our own language, we have our own heroes, we have our own stories, as we were saying. And we just kind of fell hook, line, and sinker for that, and it just kind of went from there. And bought every book ever imaginable.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just it draws you in.
Yeah, I can imagine because just experiencing your menu and in the creative things you guys do, it's like how could you not basically obsess over it, where I can certainly imagine you washing the dishes, but like looking out the window and instead of like the quantum physics on the screen above your head, it's like cocktail combinations,
Right.
and what would pair with this well, and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And it definitely shows. That's really cool that it's kind of it kind of came about that way. I mean, for it to be so organic is it's kind of a beautiful thing. You were watching a show that had a drink and you needed to know the history behind it. Why would this chef throw this one drink out of any drink she could have had? Why this one in this chef's face? And
Right.
and that's I loved Treme. It's been a long time since I watched it, but I was a devotee when it was on, naturally because of jazz and stuff. But I loved that I learned so much about the city of New Orleans aside from the music because they would focus the story on service industry people and people not
Yep.
musicians and stuff. That was super cool, and it's awesome that like that kind of hooked you. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I remember when Mad Men was on TV, there were, during like premiere night and finale nights, there would be like, I feel like people were making drinks. Like there were like sophisticated drinking games to watch that show. And I think my first old fashioned was one of these nights where I was probably watching like season 6 finale or something. And I got the directions to make an old fashioned or something. I remember the first time I had a Manhattan. That was different. I wasn't ready for that.
Yep.
I was certainly like newly 21 or 22, and my friend got into it and he handed it to me, and I was just like, oh boy, I'm not ready for this sophistication yet. But okay, so you get hooked into making drinks and interested in the culture, so that obviously sucked you in. So what made you open Conspiracy? Why Conspiracy? If you have such a distinct looking bar, was that the goal the whole time? Were you like, I want a place that looks kind of hidden? And because when you go in, pre-COVID, you would go, I mean, being in the band, I could see, the whole audience. I mean, it is such an experience to open that door, which I'm sure people miss all the time. You go up the staircase and all of a sudden it's this like loud, rowdy, swanky kind of joint, like you get a vibe when you walk into Conspiracy. Was that the goal the whole time, or is that just a product of like your, of the dream of just having a bar? Was it part of the goal, or was it organic?
It definitely was organic. We had kind of set out the parameters that we wanted for a bar. But as we looked at places, we realized really quickly that, the space does dictate the type of bar. If it's a big open space, it's going to be a different bar than a kind of narrow space, or one with low ceilings or whatever. So we knew we wanted Middletown, which we could talk about the whether that was a good good move or not. But
sure.
Middletown's just a small city. That's
Yeah.
part of the reason I say that. But we knew we wanted it because of the main street. The main street just has historical building after historical building after historical building. So we drove our real estate agent crazy because we saw 25 different places, and none of them were good.
Yeah.
And so we're actually looking downstairs, which is where the cooking company is right now. And downstairs was the lobby of the movie theater. The movie theater isn't the actual theater where the seats were isn't there anymore. That was demolished years ago. So what remains is just the lobby and our space. So we were looking at the lobby. We were actually gonna take it, and then the landlord, which hopefully he doesn't listen to this, jacked up the price at the last minute. But we were like, okay, let's just look anyway, see if we can make it work. And then I just happened to look, and there was literally a hole in the wall. And I put my head through the hole in the wall, and I see these stairs going up, and I was like, I'm going upstairs. And I did, what I think most people do at our place when they come for the first time. I went up the stairs and I said, this is it. And I ran downstairs and got Jen. And then it was, nothing. We built the whole thing. There was no plumbing, no electricity. There were holes in the wall. So it was just, big open space, 4 walls and a ceiling kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it had all that brick and all those huge windows, and and just seemed like it was waiting for a place like Conspiracy. So short answer, or long answer to a short question.
That's all right. I think the question was long.
It was it really did, it was fortuitous, but felt like it was meant to be. But then the space did kind of dictate the type of bar. So, we knew with it being on the second floor and hidden away that it was always going to have kind of a speakeasy feel. So we kind of leaned into that and kind of went from there.
That's so cool. I mean, the only other place that reminds me of Conspiracy is I was in Somerville, Massachusetts, which is a suburb of Boston, and I went to a downstairs bar where the door was unmarked. It was kind of the same thing. You blink and you miss it. I don't think there's a sign out front. The door reminded me of the doors to Crust, where it was just like this big piece of wood. And you go downstairs and it's the same vibe. It was darkly, dimly lit. It was intimate, and everything was fancy. I remember feeling super overwhelmed. I was new to drinking cocktails at that point, so I was like, "Oh God, I'm gonna look like a jerk because I don't know what I want." That was like my first impression of Conspiracy. It was like the same thing. It was like, oh, this is like different. Like, I don't come here to pound beers. I don't come here to throw back tons of shots. I'm gonna come here and choose wisely, sip slowly, and like really enjoy it. Like, that's the vibe you get when you walk into Conspiracy. Is like, this is a place to seriously spend time and enjoy yourself. And you guys handle it so well, and you've done a great job, because to know that the building was basically empty and to see what you guys have done with it, it's commendable. You guys did a great job. And that's the thing, like, for those of you who don't know, my band plays, pre-COVID, we were at Conspiracy every month. And I remember it was my wife Jill who told me about Conspiracy. She said, this new place in Middletown opened up. You should go check them out. And when we went, I was floored. I was like, I need to be part of this atmosphere. I
Yeah.
need to be part of it, and it's fun. At least and I like to think so because you keep having me back. But I feel like conspiracy is a jazz hang. Like it's part of like all the accoutrement or whatever that word is, it's all symbiotic, it's like how
Yep.
can there, it's like of course there's a jazz band playing and in a place like that. So like that's the vibe I got, and what I why I wanted to be a part of it, because it was like, oh, this place is hip. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
this is such a cool place. So you guys like bravo, because you really did it. Like it, and to be hidden, but to have like this undergroundy vibe it's cool. It's like you guys pull it off without looking like you're trying to pull it off. Like
Yeah.
there's no hipster vibe there. There's no like, oh, we're trying to be hidden, we're trying to be sophisticated. It's like, no, it's you guys are filling a market that like is certainly enjoyed, and only going to build, as people get to know like where you are and stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that was a rambling answer.
No. Yeah.
That's,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's very important for us that, and I'm glad you touch on that, because kind of the through line of what you're saying was, yes, it's different stuff, it's creative stuff, but it's comfortable too. We
Sure.
really try to hire people, and we've had the same staff for so long now. We've been very lucky with that, but we just try and hire people who are not pretentious, and who are bartenders first, and
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
will make you feel comfortable, and make you feel like it's your best friend behind the bar.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because a lot of what we do, and people who aren't familiar with craft cocktails, sometimes I think it can be a little unnerving, and because especially with alcohol, you have your drink, you know what your drink is, that makes you feel comfortable, and then you come into a place and it has ingredients and alcohols that maybe you've never heard of, and
Yeah.
sometimes that can be a little, ooh, am I not cool, kind of thing. So
Yeah, yeah. It's like
um
there's a lot of words that you don't know, and you're like, I know what
yep.
gin is, I know what this is, and I know what this is. These two things I do not know what they are.
Yep. And so, that's what we've always tried to go for, is, to have basically the menu and the experience be a conversation, have the bartenders who are, super friendly and super knowledgeable, and can kind of walk you through all that, and, kind of bring you on the journey that we all went on, to get to this point. Kind of like I was saying with Jen and my journey, we had given up on drinking. We just got bored by it.
Oh yeah.
I'm slightly older than you, and back then, like, Sam Adams was the only craft beer, and
Oh, I.
there was
Yep.
crappy wine, and so
Yeah.
we kind of were just like, bored. So that's kind of where we came from, and then had this sort of awakening. And that's what those are the guests we love. There's so many that, especially the younger drinkers. I really like, the 22-year-olds who, their friends are going out to the shot and beer places, just to get drunk. But, they find us, and they become regulars, and they really, kind of blossom in their palate. And it's just really amazing to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like if I were like 10 years younger and I was dating, like conspiracy is like where I'd bring my date. Like that's where
Right.
like if I, on date 2, date 3, where you realize you like that person, you want to impress them, that's where I would bring them for sure.
Yep.
Um yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. I remember when I was in college and I was able to drink, like the weeks I got paid, those were Sam Adams weeks. Like those were like,
Yep.
ooh, I get to buy, I get to buy Sam Adams this
Yep.
Friday, so I totally understand, because, and I think that's where like the void of craft breweries, picked up, is where, people
Yeah.
realized there was more beer than, what they were used to. I mean, my dad, it's so funny because when I was getting my dad into new kind of beers, he was so like taken aback because he was like, you know, well, why is this so special to you? And I remember saying once to him, like, well, what did you like drinking as, when you were young? He was like, just beer. There were no, there were no options. There was like beer
Right.
and then like the diet version of beer, light beers and stuff. And I feel like that certainly created a culture that we all know and filled a void. And I think that the craft cocktail is definitely, the next stage, because it's like now people, for me, I'm kind of sick of IPAs.
Yeah.
And no offense because to any brewery, because IPAs are great and I do have them once in a while, but sometimes I just can't drink like one beer a night, or it's like, or it might be too heavy and I'm nursing it a little bit longer. I also think that like I have a palate that can't tolerate IPAs very long. I feel like I can, like, after one I'm done. So to
Yeah.
have more variety is what people are looking for. I think, it's part people are opening up their minds and palates and stuff, but it's also like they want the choices. Like, oh, I'm having dinner. What can I have with this? I don't want to always have, obviously Miller, but it's like, oh, I don't want to always have an IPA, or I don't want to always have like a gin and tonic. I think that's everybody's first quote unquote
Yep.
cocktails, a gin and tonic, because they've heard of it and it's simple.
Right.
So it's like, oh, you can't go wrong. I'm sure I ordered a bunch of gin and tonics in my past because I knew it made me look cool enough, but wasn't risky,
Yep.
in that
Yeah.
choice. And it's funny, and real quick before I forget, I understand what you're saying with your staff, because I feel like, yes, I will agree with you. Your staff is definitely dedicated and they're definitely patient, because, the band is always by the bar. So I'm always eavesdropping. And I've heard your bartenders explain details within the menu. An old fashioned is this, and this is what this means, or something like that. And I think that the mixology culture that you're talking about, to be welcoming, you want to, you want to introduce people to these new things, because then they do come back. Like your place definitely like is a place where, people want to go. Like Jill and I are always like, oh, when was the last time we ordered from Conspiracy? Let's go there. It's been too long
Yep.
since, and it is great, and it is noticed that your staff is patient and doesn't assume that the customer knows about everything that you guys know. And musicians, a lot of jazz musicians have that problem where they expect their audience to be on their level musically, and so they try to play something that might be too advanced for like the layman's ears, and then it just falls flat and you sound like you're making noise. I think the same thing could happen with drinks. So if you were to explain it, or give comparisons, that makes the experience so much better, and it also makes you guys look cool. Like, like if you take the time to explain what the drink it consists of, people feel special about that, and that's smart. And that's really good that you guys do that, because then people are like, oh, I had a Sazerac at this place called Conspiracy. Let's get the girls together and we'll all go, and have drinks and
Yep.
stuff. That's like how, I mean, that's like business 101 basically, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They always say, people come to your place for the food or the drinks, but they stay for the bartender, or they come back for the bartender, so
Yeah.
yeah,
That
that's what
sounds
we've
right.
always tried to do, is just, be very welcoming and accommodating. And, it is a weird spot for us too, because, we've been at this for 10 years, and we, go to New York City, and we go to Boston, and we go to, Chicago and San Francisco, and those cities are way far ahead of Connecticut in terms of the craft cocktail movement. And I always used to say we're 5 years behind New York City, and when we open this place, we're probably 10 years behind New York City, like in terms of just the consumer knowing about craft cocktails.
Sure. Yeah.
You can't go into a bar in New York City anymore and not expect like a well-made old fashioned. Could be even a dive bar. And here, people still think an old fashioned is, the muddled cherry with the
Yeah.
orange slices,
Yep. Yep. I'm
which
a meat.
again
Yeah.
is another prohibition thing. You muddled the fruit in there in order for the alcohol to taste better.
Makes sense
So,
now. Okay.
yep. So it's just it is a conversation, and it is a journey, and but we do also like to have everybody there, the people who are really into craft cocktails and really want that creative experience, but then their buddy might want that Miller, so
Sure.
we do stock it. We've
Oh
got our
yeah, no, and don't get me wrong. There's always High Life
yeah.
in my fridge. Don't
Yep.
I want no one to come away from this conversation thinking I'm some kind of elitist. Like there is
Right.
always a PBR High Life option in my home.
Yep. Yep.
I get it 100% because my bringing it back to my dad. He is that person who goes to I'm big into different kinds of food, and I went to. I went to school in a city that had, it was a little, it was cosmopolitan, we'll say. And I would say, Dad, try Indian food or try Japanese food or something. And the man is just set in his ways in some
Yep.
regard. And food is one of those things. So, and I get it. Like you go out and everyone gets something fancy, and then there's one person who's just ordering beers. I remember when I threw Jill's I had Jill's birthday party at Conspiracy
Yep.
last year, literally a year ago, and and a couple of my buddies who came, they were just getting beers, they were playing it safe, like they were like, oh look, like they recognized a beer name and they went with that, and it's fine.
Yep.
Some people don't care. Some
Yeah.
people don't, and to cater to that is just as good, because
Yep.
you want to include everybody, obviously, because it just does wonders for your business. But I know what you're saying. Where
Yeah.
you got to have a full spectrum. But
Yep.
to go back to the old fashioned, it's funny, you have spoiled me. Your staff knows. I love your campfire old fashioned, and for our listeners, the campfire old fashioned is an old fashioned with a certain kind of syrup that you made that has like a smoky flavor to it, and it has
Yep.
a toasted marshmallow in it, which is awesome. I probably cannot order an old fashioned at any of the other places I play because I feel so spoiled by it. And then some of them, and I'm not going to name them because I love every place I play. Every place I play is wonderful, but
Yep.
like too many times I get that old fashioned with too much. There's like too much soda or soda water
Yeah.
maybe in it. Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
And now that I've had the campfire, a Conspiracy, it's like, forget it, just whiskey and ice.
Yep.
Well, that's fine. Well, maybe Coke on the side, that's fine. I do not hold it against anyone, but I am certainly spoiled at this point.
Yep. Yeah, and the campfire is just one of those drinks that we had no idea that would take off. Like, it was on our opening menu, and
Right,
as you said, it's just bourbon, smoked maple syrup that's super duper smoky, and bitters, and then done the quote unquote proper way, where you express the orange peel over the top, and you don't muddle or anything. And it was supposed to be just a fun kind of whimsical thing. We opened up at like the end of summer, so it was kind of like having that backyard bonfire sort of feeling. Put
yeah.
a marshmallow on there that we flame with a torch right in front of you, and it was just kind of captured like our whimsical way of looking at things.
Whimsical is a good word for it.
Yeah, because I'm sure with jazz too, there are traditionalists, and then there are non-traditionalists, and we're grounded in tradition, but we really want to take it to that whimsical kind of fun level.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then so we put it on there, didn't expect it to do anything, and then it just blew up, and making so many every night. And we only took it off the menu once, and because we change our menu every season.
Sure.
And it was still the best seller even when it was off the menu. So it's just one of those crazy things that you can't predict.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that at one point it wasn't a menu fixture, and I was like, "Oh, get out of town!" Like
Yeah.
I can't imagine it. Someone being like, "Oh, this is gross." I loved camping as a kid, and the first, that drink just kind of like I have a very visceral reaction when I drink your campfire old fashioned, and
Yeah.
and Jill, my wife, she always likes to look at like what's new. She's like, oh, like what is, what's on the menu now, or what's a special or something you guys are trying. And so it's fun that you can order your favorites, but then for the person who wants something new every time, they definitely can indulge. And that brings up the fact that you change your menu. I mean, I'm sure a lot of bars do, but you guys change your menu seasonally in a very interesting way. I'm thinking about like the tarot cards. Is the tarot cards
Yep.
the fall, or is that just like October?
Yeah. So last year we did it for the fall menu, because we thought it would be very on point with that, kind of the getting darker earlier,
Yeah, it's
Halloween,
got a pagany vibe to it for
Yep,
sure.
exactly. So what we did was we took tarot cards, and made a drink for every tarot card. So you've got the High Priestess, you've got the Emperor, the Empress. If you've ever had your cards read, you probably know all these. Um, and then the guests would get a deck, their own, like a deck for the table, and then you'd kind of sort through it and pick your drink. And again, that was another thing that yeah, we thought people would think it was cool, but it just exploded. Like people who would normally be our beer drinkers, and you could set down their Guinness in front of them before they even open up their
Yeah,
mouth.
your
uh,
normies, your norms and cliffs.
yeah, they were ordering from the tarot card menu, because they thought it was so cool. And so and again, that was just supposed to be a one-off. And so then we said, okay, we're going to do it every fall. But then, of course, with COVID, we couldn't do it because I couldn't imagine that to be electronic. Like we could have scanned them in, and you could have done a QR code, and you could have, gone through on your phone. But the whole point of it was a very tactile thing. Like, people
Yeah.
spread them out on their table, and,
Yes.
traded
Yeah.
them and all
Yes.
that. So what we did was turned it into a subscription service. So right now we have our regular menu, our fall menu, and then we have, much to the chagrin of my bartenders, we have a separate background menu where for subscription members. So you could become a member, you get your own box, your own menu basically, and then
Wow.
you can show up and order these drinks. But then obviously no one else touches your card, so it's safe.
That's really cool. I did not know about that. Yes, I've seen and I've experienced myself where you get the deck of cards in the box like any old
Yep.
deck of cards, and it's almost like it's brilliant, man, because like you have these people, whether they're sitting at a table or they're sitting at the bar counter, and they're basically sitting set up as if they were going to read their dates or their girlfriend, their wife, their husband, their boyfriend's fortune. And so you almost have this Ready Player One thing going on where like people are interacting with it, with this menu, because of the way it's put together. And it's really smart. I mean, it's like it's not novel, like it's not silly. It's, I could see if that concept was done at the Harry Potter land in Universal Studios, I could see how
Right.
that would be like kind of cheesy, but the way you guys do it, it's fun. It's certainly fun because, and also you're not doing it anywhere else. I don't know a single other establishment that like gave me a deck of cards and was like, yeah, that's our menu. And again, being the eavesdropper I am, I've never seen someone go, well, that's stupid. It's always
Right.
like, oh, how cool, you know?
Yeah.
And that's fun. But talk about the subscription. What is this?
Yeah.
This is a COVID thing, I'm assuming. So,
Yeah.
you know, let's
Yep.
get
It's a
into it
COVID
because
thing. We launched
yeah.
it. Yeah, we did like a soft launch. I think like a month ago. And yeah, we haven't promoted too much. It's mostly a lot of our regulars that have signed up for it. And it has like its own Instagram page, the Tarot Card Cocktail Club, if you want to check it out.
Very
Um,
cool.
but yeah, so basically you sign up. It's $25 for the first month, which basically just covers the cost of your deck. Um, and then $10 each subsequent month. And yep, you have your own menu, secret menu that the general public can't get. All new drinks this year that correspond to each of the cards. And then we've been doing a lot of members only things. Like we had the local cider maker from Spoken Spy. He came and did like a little talk for some of the members. We've done like we're going to be doing like special classes. We did our own impromptu video podcast last
I
Saturday
saw, yeah.
that initially was just for them, and it was like a live stream. So yeah, there's lots of cool kind of perks that go along with it. But again, it was just a way so that the tarot cards didn't die and we could still do it and still have fun, but do it, in a safe way.
Yeah, no, that's smart. And in this era we live in, where we're now on like month 60 of COVID, it's smart to come up with these different ideas on how to reach people with these, these themes and these different menus you've got. That's really great. And I definitely will encourage you to continue any kind of live streaming, casting, talking to your audience / customers. I feel like, especially now with people, it looks like we're going to have to spend the holidays at home, away from our loved ones. I think people are really looking for some kind of village interaction. And I think that if if you have a favorite bar, it's fun to hear from, the staff and the owner, especially if you know them. Like if you're a regular, and I can tune in or be part of some kind of subscription club or whatever. And it's like, I could see, and like, I'll use yours as an example, to watch you and Dustin talk about drinks and stuff. That's like, it makes me feel good about not being able to be there, because it's like, it's kind of like the theme remember in the early spring, or the mid spring, I should say, like there were all these kind of like, it's when people started live streaming a lot more, because we all started getting the hang of it. And it was like, you felt like you could, it had this, what am I trying to say? That we're in this together vibe was certainly there.
Yeah.
It was like, we can't be together, but we can use this platform and enjoy a drink together. I think, that's really important. You guys should definitely still do that, especially with the kind of bar you are. You can do your online classes or whatever.
Yeah.
People are gonna, I think, unfortunately, I try to be an optimist, especially on the show, but I think we're entering a dark winter because of the spikes and everything. So I feel like people are gonna need that more than ever. So you guys should definitely, if I were to weigh in, on the issue, I would say continue to do that, because people are looking for that sort of thing. I think people are sick of just binging shows, I think, and now that like it's getting cold again, and we're not going out as much, I think it gives people the interaction that they so desire, while this mess is still unfortunately happening.
Yeah, no, definitely. That is what bars are about. I think a certain segment of the population, thinks of it as a place to go get drunk, or, to get a little rowdy.
Of course.
But for us, behind the bar, it's about community. And historically, the bar or the public house, or whatever, was the cornerstone of the community. And that's what we wanted to do when we opened. And that's why, like we were saying before, we try to have something for everybody. We've got wine if you're a wine drinker, we've got beer if you're a beer drinker, in addition to the cocktails. But during COVID, it really just hit home that we were a part of people's lives.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we really took that seriously. And even just having the takeout food, in the beginning, we weren't sure. No one was sure if going to the grocery store was safe. So we really took that as a community responsibility to make your food safely, to deliver it to you safely, and allow you to have one less worry. And and then all the things we were doing, the live streaming of the cocktail classes, and the one that you helped us out with playing. And we did like a Tokyo record bar where I just played records, over our live stream. And,
Yeah.
so yeah, we're definitely gonna continue that. We learned a lot from the first shutdown. We're basically, that phrase they say, building the plane while you're trying to fly it, or whatever. That's what we were doing. Trying to build a takeout. So we learned a lot from it, and part of that is the interaction piece, and yeah, it was really fun to do that podcast, and we're going to try and do it every week now. So
that's awesome.
Definitely very lo-fi. And listening to your podcast, you could tell you're a sound guy because
no,
sounds perfect.
Believe me, I'm glad I could fool you, because I know that I have like sound guy friends who are probably like, this sounds like shit. But thank you. I will accept the compliment. No,
ours had water running in the background.
Sure. Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
everybody cleaning.
Yeah. No. It's all good. I think that especially now, people are going to be forgiving about production quality as long as I get content. I think like if I could see, you guys talking about cocktails and that sort of thing, and there's like, it's glitchy, or I know it's on a phone, I really don't care, because, I'm a teacher. I've been recording lessons, on my phone, and I have been leaving the mistakes in the videos. And that's my theme with the students this year, is we're going to roll with the mistakes. So I've got, singing videos and drumming videos and stuff that I'm making. And I make mistakes. I'll play something wrong and I'll go, let me do that again, or let's do another take of that. I think, one, people are very forgiving of it. And two, we're trying, like, there's no sense in denying what's going on. Like, none of us, like, you were never meant to be a podcaster. I was certainly not. I only started this because, like, it's kind of fulfilling a void of being unable to play music, in front of people. So don't worry about production quality at all about it. People are just grateful that I feel like the restaurant industry is like a symbol of like the American spirit during all of COVID. It's like literally like the face of fighting what's been a byproduct of the virus. Like, obviously nurses and medical staff, those are like our archangels, if you will, or those are knights in armor. But it's like,
definitely,
it's like the underground viva la resistance, if you will. It's like, that's the bars, that's the restaurants, that's these like mom and pop places like yours, who are like fighting every battle. They like every time, it's like a game of Missile Command. You remember that game where like, it's like that. It's like every time you think you're ahead, like you're going across the screen and you got more coming down on top of you. And I do see a lot of people supporting their favorite businesses. I know Jill and I have, like, we make it a point, like a couple of times a month, okay, like who haven't we ordered from yet, like in a
Yep.
while, and so you'll hear from us like every couple of weeks, then and then another week we'll order from another place that we're connected to in some way, because it's like,
Yep.
these bartenders become your friends. These bar owners become your friends. I've been performing in bars and restaurants and for a long time, and it's like, as my career has progressed, I've realized that like I I end up building these relationships with the staff. It's not like I just show up and then leave. It's like pay me and
Right.
goodbye. It's like, no, like there's a reason why I continue to want to play your place versus another place. And part of that has to do with like who runs it, who works it, that sort of thing. So these people become
Yep.
your friends, and you're like, they're hurting, and so you try to support. And but that gets me to, how can our listeners support conspiracy in this time? You talked about the subscription. What else? What else can they do? Now that, like, I saw that we might be going back to phase one, and that's really
Yeah.
sad to hear. Because I think phase
Yeah.
one is what, like 5 people are allowed in a place.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you're totally right. We've been kind of rolling with the restrictions and the phase openings, and unfortunately, I mean, the government has been, tasked with so much. And speaking of, building the plane while or flying the plane while you're building it,
Sure.
that's what the government's been doing too. So, no shade on them, but the communication and the has not been good.
Right.
One day the restrictions will say this, and then the next day they're like, no, you could actually stay open an hour later. And
Yeah.
so it has been very, very difficult. And myself and Jen and every bar and restaurant owner, we've been working 7 days a week for since this all happened, and to make less money.
Yeah.
It just is the facts. When you're limited in the amount of people you can have, and we're very, very conscious of the safe spacing, and doing everything by the rules and everything by the book. And so we just it's just a numbers game. So yeah, but we, like I said, we did learn a lot from the first shutdown. So yeah, definitely, if you wanna support any place, but us, definitely order
Support all the
takeout.
places, but especially.
Exactly. Yep. Order takeout as much as you can.
Yeah.
We are going to be offering fun things. So we've got the subscription service.
And is there? I'm sorry. Is
Be
there a website or something for the
Yeah.
subscription? Give us the details for that again.
Yeah. Take a look at the Instagram. Is probably the best. So tarot card underscore cocktail club is the Instagram,
Terror
and that will
scored.
tell you everything you need to know about it. But we are going to be doing, we do our kits well, first of all, our entire menu can be made to go. So we structure the menu in that way. So either
Great.
food or drinks. So
Great.
you could, any drink you see on that menu, you could get to go. We also have kits. So we deconstruct all the components of the drinks, and then you can buy them and then make them at your leisure. Um, and then another thing we're going to be unveiling very soon, especially with the holidays, are gift boxes. So these are going to be similar to the kits, but of maybe a little bit more attention and detail put into them. So if you did want to give them as gifts or anything like that, that will be rolling out soon. And then the other thing that I've been working on all day today is the conspiracy bottle shop. So we
Ooh.
we are going to be selling bottles at liquor store prices. So um, I'm not sure people totally understand what that means, but when you go and you order a Johnny Walker Blue from us, obviously, that's not what you would spend at a liquor store normally. We sell Johnny Walker Blue for $45 for 2 ounces,
Sure.
because you're paying for the overhead and the experience and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But what we're going to be doing is having the bottle shop be what you would get at the liquor store, so that you can do one-stop shopping. You could, if you need to pick up a bottle of bourbon, you could pick it up from us, and if you wanted to get takeout from our wonderful chef, you could grab that too. And if you wanted a cocktail, that's already made, you can grab that too. And then you don't have to bop around to 3 places to
I like it. I
fulfill.
like it. Yes.
Yeah.
Keeping the contact low. Very nice. And
Yeah.
for anyone who doesn't know, I live in East Haven. I live right over the bridge from downtown, and Conspiracy's in Middletown. It's like roughly a 90-minute back and forth. And let me tell you, it is completely worth it. The last time the wife and I ordered, we were like, let's get Conspiracy. And it's like a commitment, but it is totally worth it. Now that I know I can pick up a bottle of bourbon while I'm up there,
Yep.
Fine. It looks like I don't have to stop anywhere else. I could go just straight to one place.
Yep.
I'm into Audible, so, and I like podcasts, listening to them. So, it gives me some time to catch up on my listening. So perfect.
There you
So
go.
everyone needs to drive up to Middletown. Mark, we've been talking for quite a while. I love that we started with the history of cocktails. That's awesome. And now we're here where we can talk about how people can still order from Conspiracy. Before I let you go, I asked you to come up with I guess, like, what is this, a potluck cocktail? What's something somebody like me who the layman can make at home, or what did you think of anything?
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough because what people have sometimes differs a lot from what we have,
Sure. I didn't
as
even
we
think
as
about
we
that
said.
until, right. I
Um,
didn't even think, what a
yeah.
stupid thing to ask you.
No.
You handled
No.
it very well.
But the thing I was actually before we started talking that I was gonna tell everybody about was how to make a Sazerac. So
There we go. All right.
so since we talked about it so much, let me detail how everyone can make it, and it's super super easy, but could go very wrong. So what you do the old school way, you take a sugar cube. If you don't have a sugar cube and you don't want to go out and get one, just take a packet of sugar,
Okay.
and do it to your taste. Do like half a packet or a full packet if you like something sweet. Take a tiny little bit of water, maybe like a quarter ounce of water, and then take put that in your mixing container, and then you muddle it until the sugar is dissolved. Because pro tip, sugar will not dissolve in alcohol. So if you try to sweeten your cocktail with like honey or agave or something, and you ever notice it's at the bottom of your shaker or whatever, it's because it did not dissolve. It just won't.
Uh,
So you do that. Then you have to have those bitters, those Peychaud's bitters. You can pick them up at any liquor store or at Conspiracy.
we're going
And
to get
you
them at
do
Conspiracy.
3 dashes of that. Say
Mm-hmm.
again?
No. I said we're going to get it at Conspiracy.
Yeah, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So the Conspiracy pro tip for that is we do 3 dashes of Peychaud's, 1 of Angostura. You take 2 ounces of rye whiskey, which is a different type of whiskey. It's a spicier whiskey,
Mm-hmm.
and you stir that with ice for about 30 seconds, and that will chill it. Now, the other thing you want to be doing is, and again, not everybody will have this, but a real Sazerac is made with a little bit of absinthe. So you take a tiny little bit of absinthe, you coat a rocks glass with it. So you put a little bit at the bottom of the rocks glass, you kind of swirl it around, coat it, and then just dump out the excess. And then you strain it in there, no ice or anything in the glass. And then if you really want to take it up to the next level, you take a little bit of a lemon peel and you express the oils over the top. So what you'll be
Right.
getting with this drink is, it tastes like an old fashioned, but you get the aroma of absinthe, which is kind of like black licorice-y sort of aroma, and then you get the aroma and taste of that lemon peel, and you drop that right in the glass. And so then every time you take a sip, you'll be breathing in that that nice citrusy oil kind of flavor. So it's my favorite cocktail. People always ask what your desert island cocktail is. It's always a Sazerac.
Okay.
The history of it, the flavors, it's just simple and but gets you through these cold nights we'll be having soon.
Yeah, I mean, not to admit my impending alcoholism, but I'm looking forward to making similar cocktails to get me through these literally and figuratively and emotionally cold, dark nights of coming up.
Yeah.
Oh boy. At least I know I won't be alone.
Right.
Through it. Okay, was that's it, right?
Yeah.
Enjoy at your leisure after that. Well, Mark, it's been so great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me. You are my first guest outside of the greater New Haven area, so I'm already expanding the show. This is great.
Nice.
But no, I wanted to go on the record that it's been a pleasure getting to know you and Jen over the years, and and becoming friends, and I'm glad that conspiracy is part of my life, and I know my wife feels the same way. And to the listeners who know conspiracy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. To those who don't know, you need to go online and check out Conspiracy and order some takeout. And when we get through this whole mess and we all get our vaccine, we're all gonna party up at Conspiracy and toast literally to the next step of craft cocktails.
That's right.
All
right. And
all
we'll
right.
be ready for you.
Yeah. Okay, Mark, thank you so much for coming on. And
all right.
Thank
you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Say hi to Jen for me, and yeah, folks, go check out Conspiracy. So thanks so much, Mark. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Right, you guys. I'm so glad we could make that happen, Mark. What fun talking about the history of drinks and bartending and conspiracy in general. I hope you guys had a great time checking out that interview, and I hope that you guys give Conspiracy a shout out. Go order some drinks. Go order some takeout food. Be safe about it, but please consider supporting such a great business. I think we are lucky to have a venue just like that. So that'll do it, guys. Episode 7 in the bag. One last time, thanks to Mark for joining me, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. I can't believe it. Episode 7 already. I'm doing a great job, if you don't mind me patting myself on the back. No, like I've been saying, this has been such a fun project. I'm so grateful to be doing it and to be getting out content to anyone that will listen. And that's what the Underground's about. Bringing it to the people, right? Bringing jazz to the people, especially to this great city of New Haven, Connecticut. So, Thanksgiving is Thursday. Please be safe. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. We're all in this together, and I am grateful for you. And I will see you at the next episode. Till then, this has been Mr. Millennials Revenge. I'm your host, Nick DeMaria. Thank you so much. Take care.